My name is Alex, and I'm 32 years old. Up until 6 months ago, I thought I had it all. The perfect fiancé, a beautiful life in Austin, Texas, and a shared dream that was finally about to become a breathtaking reality. I thought our love story was the kind people write about. Turns out, it was the kind people make psychological thrillers about, and I was the unsuspecting protagonist about to have his world detonated. Her name is Isabella, or Izzy, as I used to call her. We met 5 years ago at a South by Southwest mixer. I was a graphic designer with a stable but unfulfilling corporate job, and she was this force of nature. She worked in PR and had this incredible ability to walk into a room of strangers and leave with 10 new best friends. She had that dazzling high-wattage smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the universe. When that smile was aimed at me, I was a goner. We fell hard and fast. She was the extrovert to my introvert, the brilliant strategist to my creative dreamer. After my grandfather passed away and left me a considerable inheritance, I finally decided to quit my soul-crushing job and pursue my real passion. I wanted to start a non-profit foundation, the Austin Arts Spark, dedicated to providing free arts education, music, painting, theater, to underprivileged kids in the city. It was the legacy I wanted to build. Izzy was, or so I thought, my biggest cheerleader. "Alex, this is it. This is your calling," she'd said, her eyes shining with what I mistook for genuine excitement. "Oh, you have the vision, and I have the voice. We can make this happen. And for a while we did. I poured my heart, my time, and a significant chunk of my inheritance into getting ArtSpark off the ground. I designed the logo, built the website, developed the curriculum, and found the incredible teachers who would work with the kids. But I'm shy. I hate networking. I freeze up at the thought of public speaking, and asking wealthy people for money feels like asking them to donate a kidney. That's where Izzy thrived. She was our public face. She charmed donors, schmoozed with local politicians, and organized fundraising events that felt more like exclusive parties. She was brilliant at it. Our codependency was baked in from the start. I was the soul of the operation, but she was its glittering, indispensable armor. Without her, I was just a guy with a nice idea. With her, we were a power couple on a mission. Our friends and family saw us as the perfect team. "You two balance each other so perfectly," my own mother would say. "She brings you out of your shell." Looking back, the first subtle signs of her narcissism were there, disguised as ambition. The foundation was always our project in private, but in public, the narrative subtly shifted. At galas, she'd tell stories that positioned her as the primary driver. When I decided we needed to tackle arts education, Alex was the first person I called to help with the creative side. She'd say with a charming laugh, squeezing my hand as if to include me in her triumph. I let it slide. It was for the cause, right? Her ego was a small price to pay for funding our kids' futures. Then came Julian. Julian was a non-profit growth consultant Izzy insisted we hire. He was slick, wore suits that cost more than my car, and spoke in a language of KPIs, stakeholder engagement, and scalable impact metrics. He made my skin crawl. He looked at our kids' paintings not with joy but with an eye for what would look best on an annual report cover. "Julian is a genius, Alex," Izzy would say, dismissing my concerns. "You're too close to it. You're the heart, but we need a brain for the business side. Don't be so sensitive." That was her favorite phrase. Don't be so sensitive. It was the cornerstone of her gaslighting. Whenever I questioned a decision or an expense, I was being emotional or not seeing the big picture. I started to believe her. After all, she was the expert in this world. I was just the art guy. This was the beginning of my learned helplessness. I ceded control of the finances and operations to her and Julian, telling myself it was for the best. I retreated into what I did best, working with the kids and the teachers, the actual soul of the foundation. Our biggest moment was on the horizon, the Starlight Gala. It was going to be our masterpiece. We had secured a massive game-changing grant from a major tech corporation, and the gala was meant to be the public celebration. We'd invited local media, city officials, all our biggest donors. It was the night ArtSpark would be officially put on the map. Izzy was in her element, more vibrant and alive than I'd ever seen her. To her, this wasn't just a fundraiser, it was her coronation as Austin's philanthropic queen. I was working late one Tuesday, a week before the gala, finalizing the presentation video. It was a montage of the kids laughing, painting, playing guitars, pure, unadulterated joy. I felt a surge of pride. This was all worth it. The stress, the long hours, letting Izzy take the spotlight. It was all for them. My laptop pinged. It was an email from our accountant Mark. The subject line read, Final invoice approvals before gala. Odd. I usually wasn't on these threads. I opened it. It was a simple message. Izzy, attached are the final invoices for Q3. Please review and approve so we can close out the books before the gala. Julian, I've included the updated consulting retainer payment as discussed. Best Mark. I frowned. Julian's retainer? I thought we paid him a flat project fee months ago. Curiosity got the better of me. It wasn't snooping, it was oversight. My name was on the foundation after all. I scrolled down to see the rest of the email chain. And that's when the floor fell out from under my world. It was a long thread between Izzy, Julian, and Mark. I saw line items I'd never heard of. Strategic Outreach Services, $15,000. Discretionary Marketing Fund, $20,000. And then I saw it. A transfer of $50,000 to an entity I'd never heard of. J&I Creative Solutions, LLC. My heart started hammering against my ribs. J&I, Julian and Isabella. My hands were shaking as I opened a new browser tab and searched for J&I Creative Solutions, LLC. The registration was public information. It was a Delaware corporation, founded 8 months ago, right after we hired Julian. The registered agents were Julian Croft and Isabella Rossi, my fiancée. I felt a cold dread wash over me, so profound it was paralyzing. I clicked back to the email attachment, the financial statements. I started tracing the money. It was a masterclass in deception. Small, plausible-sounding expenses here and there, siphoned off from our general donation fund and rerouted to their shell company. They weren't just taking a slice, they were gutting the foundation from the inside out. Donations I had personally solicited, money given in good faith by people who believed in our mission. It was all being funneled into a slush fund for them. The big grant we had just received. I could see in their correspondence they were already planning how to carve out a massive management fee for themselves. My blood ran cold. The Starlight Gala wasn't a celebration. It was the grand finale of their heist. They were going to stand on that stage, next to my video of those beautiful kids, and toast to a future they were actively stealing. I sat there for what felt like an hour, just staring at the screen, the happy faces of the children in my video mocking me. The woman I was going to marry, the woman I had trusted with my dream and my grandfather's legacy, was a thief. And her partner in crime was the smarmy consultant I disliked from day one. My gut had been screaming at me for months, and I had let her convince me it was just my own anxiety. I felt a wave of nausea. I thought about all the times she'd called me sensitive. The times she'd said, "Trust me, Alex, I know what I'm doing." It wasn't reassurance, it was a command, a way to keep me quiet and compliant while she picked my pockets. The trauma bond was so strong I almost felt the pang of guilt for discovering it. Like I was the one betraying her trust. It was insane. That night, Izzy came home, bubbling with excitement about the gala. She kissed me, her lips tasting of expensive wine from a donor meeting. "Babe, you will not believe who just confirmed. Councilman Roberts, this is going to be epic." She threw her arms around my neck and I had to physically stop myself from recoiling. I looked into her eyes, searching for any flicker of the woman I thought I knew. There was nothing, just a brilliant, polished, empty reflection. "That's amazing, I said, my voice sounding hollow and distant even to my own ears. "Are you okay?" she asked, her brow furrowing with that practice-perfect concern. And then she looked pale. "You're working too hard on that video. Don't worry, after the gala we're taking a long vacation, just the two of us. We've earned it. I've earned it." The audacity of it stole my breath. I just nodded, a sick smile plastered on my face. "And you're right, we need a break. We need a break." In that moment something inside me shifted. The hurt and the shock began to cool and harden into something else. Something cold, quiet, and sharp. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to confront her. What was the point? She would just lie. She would gaslight me, twist the story, and probably convince me that J&I Creative Solutions was a brilliant, necessary financial strategy that I was too simple to understand. No. A confrontation was what she would expect. It would give her a chance to control the narrative. I wasn't going to give her that. She wanted a coronation? Fine, I would give her a stage, a spotlight, and an audience. And then I would burn it all to the ground while she was busy taking her bow. For the next week, I was the perfect supportive fiancé. I helped with seating charts. I tasted catering samples. I feigned excitement. Every smile felt like a betrayal of my own sanity, but it was necessary. I was moving pieces around a chessboard she didn't even know we were playing on. My first move was quiet. I created a new private email account. I contacted our lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Sarah, who I'd insisted on hiring over Izzy's preferred old family friend. I forwarded her the entire email chain and the LLC registration. Her response was swift and furious. "Alex, this is grand larceny. Do not confront them. Do not tip them off. We need to act deliberately. What do you want to do?" I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Next, I met with the two board members I trusted implicitly, a retired teacher and a local artist who had been with me from the very beginning. I laid out the evidence on a coffee shop table. The color drained from their faces. They were horrified, disgusted, and then fiercely loyal. The plan began to form. It was a scorched earth strategy, designed not just to stop the theft, but to dismantle the entire fraudulent world Izzy had built for herself. The day of the gala arrived. It was a beautiful, clear Austin evening. Izzy was ecstatic, a whirlwind of motion and perfume. She had a custom gown laid out on the bed, a shimmering silver thing that made her look like a movie star. "Tonight is the night our lives change, Alex," she said, beaming at me in the mirror. "I know," I replied, my voice steady. "It really is." While she was in the shower, I made my final moves. I packed a single duffel bag, laptop, chargers, a few changes of clothes, and a hard drive containing every single file related to the foundation. Then I sat down at our beautiful reclaimed wood dining table and wrote a short, simple letter on official Austin Art Spark letterhead. I didn't address it to her. I placed it in the center of the table, right where she'd see it. I took one last look around the apartment that was never really ours, at the life that was never really real. I didn't feel sadness. I felt light. I walked out the door without making a sound, got into my car, and drove north into the Texas Hill Country, to a small, isolated cabin I had rented under a fake name. As I drove, I turned my phone off. The first call I made was from a burner phone app to Sarah, my lawyer. "Son, I'm done," I said. "I'm gone. You can proceed." The second call was to the venue manager for the gala. "This is Alex Russo from the Art Spark Foundation," I said, my voice calm and professional. "Due to an emergency board decision regarding financial misconduct, the Starlight Gala is canceled, effective immediately. Please begin shutdown procedures. Our legal counsel will be in touch regarding any contractual obligations." The man on the other end was stunned into silence. "But Miss Rossi is on her way. The guests will be arriving in an hour." "I'm aware," I said. "That's her problem now." I drove until the city lights of Austin were just a faint glow in my rearview mirror, and didn't look back. I imagined Izzy, stepping out of her limo in her glittering gown, walking into the grand ballroom to find the lights being turned off, the caterers packing up, and a confused venue manager handing her a note from our lawyer. I imagined the dawning horror on her face as her perfect night, her coronation, crumbled into dust around her. And for the first time in a very long time, I smiled a real smile. The show was just beginning. The first 24 hours in that cabin were surreal. The silence was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. No phone buzzing, no emails pinging, no Izzy talking about seating charts or donor lists. It was just me, the whisper of the wind through the juniper trees, and the slow, steady process of my mind untangling itself from 5 years of intricate lies. I had expected to feel a storm of emotions, rage, grief, heartbreak. Instead, what I felt was a profound, chilling clarity. It was like I'd been underwater for years and had finally broken the surface, gasping in the clean, sharp air of reality. This was the first real step in my boundary formation, creating a physical and emotional space so vast she could never cross it again. My phone, when I eventually turned it on, was a war zone. Dozens of missed calls from Izzy. A flood of texts that tracked her emotional spiral in real time. 7:15 p.m. "Alex, what the hell is going on? The venue says you canceled the gala. Call me now." "This isn't funny." 7:45 p.m. "The board members aren't answering. Our lawyer just sent me some insane letter." "Where are you?" People are here, the media is here. 8:30 p.m. Julian is freaking out. Oh, what have you done? 10:00 p.m. Alex, please, I don't understand. Let's just talk about this. Whatever you think you found, it's a misunderstanding. 2:00 a.m. I know you're punishing me. I'm sorry. Whatever it is, I'm sorry. Please just come home. But no, I'm sorry was the most transparent lie of all. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she got caught. I deleted the entire thread without responding. My silence was my weapon now, and it was more powerful than any argument I could ever make. Back in Austin, the fallout was exactly as Sarah and I had planned. The canceled gala was the talk of the town. The initial story, which Izzy and Julian desperately tried to spin, was that I'd had some kind of mental breakdown. They painted me as an unstable, emotional artist who cracked under the pressure. For a few hours it might have even worked. But Sarah was faster. The morning after the gala, she released an official statement on behalf of the Art Spark board. It was a masterfully worded piece of corporate communication that was simultaneously professional and utterly devastating. It announced the immediate suspension of all operations pending a comprehensive forensic audit due to the discovery of significant financial irregularities and mismanagement of funds by Ms. Isabella Rossi and consultant Julian Croft. It didn't call them thieves. It didn't have to. It let the world connect the dots. The statement also announced that I, Alex Russo, had proactively alerted the board and was cooperating fully to protect the Foundation's assets and mission. In one move, I went from being the unstable villain of Izzy's story to the whistleblower hero. The reaction was immediate and catastrophic for them. The tech corporation that had awarded us the grant immediately froze the funds and launched their own internal investigation. Major donors started calling Sarah, demanding answers. To them, she presented a sanitized but clear picture of the embezzlement, backed by the spreadsheets and LLC documents I'd uncovered. The trust that Izzy had spent years cultivating evaporated overnight. Her social capital, the currency she valued above all else, was now worthless. Julian, the slick consultant, was the first to crack. He tried to throw Izzy under the bus immediately. I got a second-hand account from one of the board members who'd spoken to a panicked donor. Julian had apparently called the donor, claiming he was just a consultant who had been misled by Izzy's unorthodox accounting practices. It was a pathetic attempt. Sarah had a simple, brutal countermove. She sent a formal demand letter to both Julian and Izzy, on behalf of the Foundation, for the full repayment of the $280,000 they had siphoned into J&I Creative Solutions. The letter also informed them that a criminal complaint was being prepared. That's when Izzy's parents got involved. The Rosses were old Austin money, obsessed with appearances. An embezzling daughter was not part of their family brand. Her father called me, his voice a low growl. Alex, I don't know what kind of mess you've gotten my daughter into, but you need to fix this. Think of the embarrassment. I almost laughed. Mr. Rossi, I said, my voice calm. I didn't get her into this mess. I got her out of mine. Your daughter and her friend stole nearly $300,000 meant for children. The only embarrassment you should be thinking of is that you raised a thief. I suggest you talk to her, not me. I hung up before he could respond. The most satisfying part of my revenge was that it wasn't personal, it was procedural. It was the quiet, undeniable force of consequences. Every move I made was to protect the Foundation, but a beautiful side effect was that it systematically dismantled Izzy's life. A week later, I got a text from a mutual friend, Chloe. Chloe, hey, are you okay? The stuff I'm hearing is insane? Izzy is telling everyone you've lost your mind. Me, I'm fine, just getting some fresh air. The truth will come out. Chloe, it already is. No one believes her. TBH, a few of us always thought she was a little too in love with the spotlight. Julian just got dropped by his biggest client. Word travels fast. The social fallout was the spectacle. Izzy, the queen bee, was suddenly a pariah. The friends who used to flock to her parties now crossed the street to avoid her. She was uninvited from a charity luncheon she was supposed to co-host. Her name was quietly removed from the websites of other boards she sat on. In a city like Austin, where reputation is everything, she had become radioactive. She lost her job. The PR firm she worked for couldn't afford to have an accused embezzler on their payroll, especially when her crime was against a children's nonprofit. They let her go, citing the negative publicity. Without her job, and with her parents reportedly refusing to bail her out after the stunt she pulled, her financial situation became dire. The beautiful downtown apartment we shared, she couldn't afford it on her own. She was served an eviction notice. It was through Chloe that I heard about the final pathetic confrontation between Izzy and Julian. They apparently had a screaming match in a public coffee shop. He accused her of being a reckless egomaniac who got them caught. She accused him of being a coward who abandoned her at the first sign of trouble. He allegedly threw a folder of their shared incriminating documents on the table and said, "This is your mess. You deal with it. I'm getting a lawyer, and he's going to say you were the mastermind." The ultimate betrayal among thieves. It was poetic. After 3 weeks in the hill country, I came back to Austin, not to the old apartment, but to a small new place I'd rented on the quiet side of town. I met with Sarah and the board. The audit was complete. The evidence was ironclad. We had a choice: press criminal charges or pursue a civil settlement. If we press charges, it'll be a long, ugly public fight, Sarah advised. But if we settle, we can get the money back faster and try to save the foundation. We can make them sign an agreement with a non-disclosure clause about the specifics, but a public apology and full restitution would be non-negotiable. I thought about it. Dragging her through a criminal trial felt like staying tethered to her. I didn't want justice that came with more pain for me. I wanted closure. "Let's settle," I said, "but on one condition. The public apology has to state, unequivocally, that she and Julian acted alone, and that I was the one who uncovered their actions and protected the foundation." They folded, of course. They had no other choice. They cobbled together the money, likely from their humiliated parents, and paid back every single cent. They signed the settlement, and a dry, lawyer-approved apology was posted online for a mandatory 30 days. The last time I ever saw Izzy was from a distance. I was grabbing coffee a few months later, and I saw her working behind the counter of a boutique clothing store. The kind of place she used to shop at, not work at. Her hair wasn't perfectly styled. That high-wattage smile was gone, replaced by a tight, weary line. She looked hollowed out. Our eyes met for a fraction of a second across the shop floor. I saw a flash of something in her gaze. Not anger, not sadness, but pure, unadulterated shame. I didn't gloat. I didn't even smile. I just turned and walked away. That was the end of our story. As for me, I rebranded. Austin Art Spark became Spark Forward. We rebuilt from the ground up, with a new, stronger board and transparent financial controls that a child could understand. The story of the betrayal, ironically, became part of our new legacy. Donors came back, some even more generous than before. They weren't just investing in a cause anymore. They were investing in a comeback story, in resilience, in a founder who had proven he would burn his own life down to protect his mission. Last month we had the grand reopening of our new community arts center. It wasn't a fancy gala. It was a potluck in the backyard. The kids we serve were running around, their parents were laughing, and our teachers were playing music on a makeshift stage. There were no reporters, no councilmen, no glittering gowns. It was just real. I stood there, watching a little girl proudly show her mom a painting. A wild, brilliant splash of color and joy, and I felt a peace I hadn't felt in years. I had lost a fiancé, a home, and a life I thought I wanted, but I'd found myself. I was no longer the quiet, codependent dreamer hiding behind a charismatic partner. I was the man who had built this, saved this, and was now standing strong in the middle of it. Izzy didn't just steal money. She tried to steal my soul, my passion. The ultimate revenge wasn't seeing her fall. It was realizing I could rise so much higher without her. She wanted a legacy? Well, she has one. She's a footnote in my story. But my legacy is in the laughter of these kids and the bright, beautiful art they create. And that's something she can never touch.